What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining another episode of Dev and the Bear. This week we got quite a bit to talk about, whether it's actual fights or drama or still kind of riding off the results of that last card. A lot of exciting stuff going on there. But we're going to start off today with talking about the PFL card. It's going to be the middleweight, heavyweight welterweight and light heavyweight card. Very off on that. It's going to be headlined by Rory McDonald and Curtis Millender. We talked about that a little bit. I'm thinking that fight will not be the most exciting fight on the card, because I feel like Rory McDonald's probably going to kind of dominate it, and Curtis Millender is going to want to take him down, because I think Rory McDonald's stand-up is going to be significantly better than his. But I think that if anyone is going to be exciting to watch on that card, it's going to be Ray Cooper III. That dude's always really, really fun to watch. Yeah, that's actually the co-main event.
He's got heavy hands. Yeah. I mean, he's knocked out Jake Shields before. I mean, he's put together some great knockouts, so it's going to be really exciting to see him. And if you're a follower of the sport, I mean, if you've been following for a little while now, there's a lot of familiar faces like we had talked about last time on the card. You know, you got Gleison Tebow fighting on the card. Chris Camozzi's fighting on the card as well. Tom Lawler, Antonio
Carlos Antonio Jr.
Carlos Antonio
or Antonio Jr. Carlos Jr.
And so
we'll get it right one day.
Yeah, eventually, right? And so it's gonna be an exciting card. But like talking about Roy McDonald though, I mean, it's surprising that he's still not in the UFC after everything he's done, and he's still having a very successful career outside the UFC. But
yeah, well, I don't think he's gonna go back to the UFC.
Yeah,
I think he's happy where he's at. I feel like there's less pressure and more success. Yeah. So I think for the kind of person he is, I think that he really likes that. I think he really thrives when he doesn't have to have so much pressure to go out there and hurt people, but he can just go out there and fight because it's what he enjoys doing. And I feel like that's kind of where he's at right now, is he gets to go out there and fight because it's a competitive thing. It's less of there's not all this hype behind it. There's not all these commercials and press events, and he doesn't have to go and talk it up, and he's just not that kind of guy. So Now that he can do the same thing without all of that, I think he's just a lot happier. So
yeah,
when he retired, I don't think he was really retiring from MMA. I think he was retiring from the UFC and then going to Bellator, retiring from there because it was still kind of hyped up.
Yeah.
So now he's doing PFL because it's a season. It's a competitive thing. It's temporary. But I think it's right up his alley.
Yeah, I think it's perfect for him. I mean, we watched this guy practically grow up in the UFC. He was very young when he got in there. And he was on a tear. I mean, they were already talking about he was going to be the guy that was going to take GSP's spot whenever GSP decided to call it a career. He trains with GSP up at TriStar with Faraz Zahabi, and he had a couple losses, but I mean, he was always a hard-nosed fighter. It was crazy to see that this guy who was as dominant as he was, I mean, he was very young to fighting Nate Diaz and tossing him around the ring. Like
that was a good one.
20 pounds, and he had a great fight against Carlos Condit early in his career as well, and that was actually his first loss, but I mean, it was like the last 10 seconds of the third round going into what the decision would have been a win for Rory McDonald as well, and it was just a crazy fight. But I mean, we saw towards the end of his UFC run, he wanted to fight, and he was there to prove it. I mean, you know, look at Robbie Lawler. His fight with Robbie Lawler, the second fight, was just insane. So he was in the UFC Hall of Fame because of how intense that fight was between those two.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of something called The Art of Fight, it's an artist. He has a lot of his work up online, but he does the thing called The Art of Fight, and there's one of the volumes of The Art of Fight, and it's the scene the picture where Rory and Robbie are looking at each other with their faces covered in blood.
Yeah,
it's a really good picture. It's all hand drawn, and then he reprints it.
That's crazy.
It's a really good picture. But he does these. He like I said, it's called The Art of Fight, and there's different volumes. But there's one where it's just a bunch of like really great Hall of Fame fighters like Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Chuck Liddell, Vanderlei Silva, Forrest Griffin, and it's just like all of them drawn onto this page like it's a collage of it. It's really, really cool though. But something you said, I think we're starting to see a lot more of that, of really, really young fighters getting into the UFC. Like you said, we saw Rory grow up in the UFC. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. You have guys like Adrian Yanez, Chase Hooper, Sean O'Malley. I mean, you look back as far back as John Jones and Max Holloway. I think they were kind of the start of that, like these really young guys getting into the UFC and having a lot of success.
Yeah, I think Max was 20 or 21 when he got into the UFC. And even John Jones as well. I mean, I think he was barely old enough to 21 drink by the time he got into the UFC.
And then by the time he won the title, he was 23.
Yeah, he still had high car insurance. Like, he wasn't even 25 yet. Let's put that in perspective. And, like you mentioned, like another name is like, Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell's young, and he's coming in. He's coming in, and he's making a lot of noise with what he is. Thug Nasty, man. He's an incredible fighter. And so I'm happy to see these young guys kind of coming in there. Look at Sean O'Malley. He was young. He still is young. I mean, I think he's 26, and he started in the UFC very, very young as well. So it was kind of cool to see Roy McDonald kind of just grow up in the UFC, and now we're seeing him. He's able to still have a very successful career outside the UFC. I don't think he's lost very much. I know one of his losses was when he went up in weight to fight Gegard Mousasi, but
Gegard is someone you can't kind of test waters with. He's always going to be good. He's been good for like 20 years.
Yeah, he's been fighting the best in the world for 20 years. You know, I mean, I'm surprised he's still fighting. That guy has fought everybody. He's went from heavyweight all the way down to middleweight, and so it's crazy to see that he's still going. I mean, I know he did say that this Bellator run is going to be his last run, though.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably best. I mean, he's been doing it for as long as I can remember. I mean, probably a lot. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy to see how long he's still around. Even looking at other guys like Alistair Overeem.
When Gegard Mousasi was fighting in Pride, Chase Hooper wasn't even born yet.
That's crazy.
Chase Hooper's 21, and he's fighting in the UFC. And he's not, a household name yet, but he's going to be. I think he's very popular with fighters, and he's very popular with like the hardcore MMA fans, especially with the joke that he's Ben Askren's son.
Yeah.
But he's 21 years old, and he's fighting in a time where, like I said, there are still guys in the UFC who are fighting before he was even born.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Granted, Gegard Mousasi's not in the UFC, but he's a former UFC fighter who's still fighting. Anderson Silva just retired. He's been fighting since before he was in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's crazy that there's so many really young guys in the UFC right now, and women. There's so many young. The talent is getting ridiculous. The sport has changed so much that once you start training MMA, that's just kind of a weird thing to say, is training MMA.
Yeah.
10 years ago, you didn't say training MMA. You said, I'm training in wrestling, or I'm training in jiu-jitsu, or Muay Thai or kickboxing or whatever. But now you can say I'm training in MMA, and that's something that I think is part of why the sport has changed so much, is MMA is its own thing now. Yeah. So when you start training now, part of why you get so good is that you're training in all aspects of the game. We've already seen tried and true techniques that have stuck, and we know why they stuck. We've seen things that don't work as well. So a lot of like boxing techniques, a lot of kickboxing stances, they didn't carry over anymore because they don't work as well.
Yeah. When you mentioned young fighters, the first guy I think of was like Aaron Pico. He was still in high school when he got signed to Bellator. Yeah. Bellator knew he was going to be something special. That guy was one of these, and that's what you're seeing is a lot of these guys coming up. Like Lance Gibson Jr., also, it's just these guys are bred for the sport. They're trained to do something in this sport.
Their family's all about it.
Yeah, and
the Northcutt family.
I mean, look, I think Aaron Pico, he has a background in boxing and in wrestling.
Yeah.
And so once that dude turned 18, he's training for a fight, and it was insane to see. I think he was before he was 18. He even got signed to Bellator. So, I mean...
I know Paddy Pimblett, he's now signed with UFC after fighting for 6-7 years, maybe 8 or 9 years. Yeah. He's fighting fresh out of graduating. He went pro.
Yeah.
But he recently did an interview where he said that he's glad he waited, because he was like, as good as I thought I wasn't prepared for that level.
Yeah.
So if I had done that, it would have stunted me a lot, which is something I really believe in. I don't always think you should push certain people. I think a lot of people succeed and thrive whenever they have to kind of be sharpened before they can actually be used.
Yeah.
And I think he's definitely one of them, because he's got a very fun style, but it's not refined until he puts it to the test. And I think he's put it to the test, and I think he's ready for the UFC. But Aaron Pico's probably a similar situation.
Yeah.
He's really, really good, but he's had some losses, or is it just the one?
No, he's had a couple losses.
He's had a couple.
And he's usually getting knocked out very roughly.
And hopefully he can take it and learn from it.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's what they need. Sometimes that's what fighters need, is to lose to be able to learn.
Yeah.
That way they can be better. You look at the greatest of all time fighters, GSP. He's got 2 losses. Went back and avenged them both. One of them twice.
Yeah.
You have Chuck Liddell. Now he's got a lot of losses. Yeah. But back then, like, no one thought this guy was going to get beat.
He avenged a lot of his losses.
Yeah.
Like whenever he lost to Jeremy Horn, he got choked out cold, and he went back and he knocked out Jeremy. Jeremy quit.
Losing to Jeremy Horn is a weird. Not that it's weird, but it's kind of like, yeah, I lost to Jeremy Horn. So what? Everyone's lost to Jeremy Horn.
Yeah.
If you were fighting at that time, you probably lost to Jeremy Horn at some point.
Jeremy Horn was ahead of the game at the time when he was fighting everybody. He was good at it all.
He was a big dude who could submit you, but he's a big dude, so he could also hit you from
He knocked out
wherever he wanted.
He knocked out Forrest Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a head kick.
Keith Jardine knocked out Forrest Griffin.
Yeah. Look at that guy.
Not a knock on Keith Jardine. Keith Jardine fought the best of the best his whole career.
He just wasn't at that level. I mean, that's just how it is. But he was. I enjoyed watching Keith Jardine fight. But I mean, look at the guys who he has losses against. I mean, I think he got
Thiago Silva.
Thiago Silva.
I miss Thiago Silva.
Thiago Silva was always in title contention. I mean, he got knocked out by Luke Rockhold, ended up being a feature. But I don't think he got knocked out by Luke Rockhold. I know he lost to Luke Rockhold, but he lost to Luke Rockhold. That guy ended up being middleweight champion. So it's just crazy to see that these guys just take losses against these guys who are bred to be good. Look at like Marcus Burmage. We were talking about him the other day. I mean, he kind of went on a little downward spiral because he lost to McGregor, drops down to bantamweight, loses to Cody Garbrandt. Look at the career. Look what run those guys had. Look at those runs those guys went on after they beat Marcus Burmage. So, but yeah, the PFL card is gonna be good. Going back to that, it's just it's gonna be a good card. It's gonna be a really good fight. I mean, I do like how they do their system. I know that whenever you had explained it to me, that was my first time hearing about how they operate their system, and it's cool that they do it like that because it's like, oh, you actually want to be the best in this promotion. Well, you have to finish guys. You have to make weight. You have to.
You can't just go out there and win fights.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might have to finish them, otherwise you're not gonna be advanced. Sometimes, if you miss weight, it's actually going to cost you going to the semifinals.
Yeah.
And they typically do it this way, but I think that there is a difference. Oh no, the only difference from the previous seasons is that instead of 8 guys going to the quarterfinals, it's just 4 guys in semifinals.
Yeah.
So they're cutting it short, so it's even harder to make it this year.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a really exciting format. Kind of reminds me of like Mortal Kombat stuff.
Yeah.
You got to fight these guys to get through to the championship, and you're all kind of constantly around each other because you're all on the same cards. You're all having to train in the same areas because your fights aren't spaced out as much as you're maybe used to. So your camps have to be kind of somewhat located wherever you need them to be able to make the fight properly. So it's like something Dustin Poirier talked about today. He said in a few weeks he's going to be going to South Florida to get ready for his McGregor fight, which is really early. But he said that he's just doing it because he wants to be ready. He said it's about a week or 2 earlier than what he's used to for a fight camp. But he said he wants this one to be ready because he thinks that this rematch means a lot to him.
Yeah.
So with the PFL card, like, you're constantly around these guys you're fighting. So it makes me think of like the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah.
These guys were all living in quarters together in the movie, and like they're eating together, and they have to go watch these weird like ceremonies where those dudes were like showing off their kicks, and then Sub-Zero comes in there and freezes one. But yeah, they're all like constantly around each other, and they have to fight each other. So it's a really cool format. It's kind of like a really elongated Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, which I like it though, because I mean, look at these guys who, I mean, I know it sounds kind of bad because these guys are pro fighters, but they go in there just laying prey, or they're just
Yeah.
going for the takedown. They're just trying to have a win where it's like, okay, yeah, I grinded that dude out, but it's like, but what did you really do?
Which you
To
say
where,
that, and it's
yeah,
kind of crazy because only one of them was, as far as the last card, only one
yeah,
of them had a finish.
yeah,
And that's why he's in
yeah.
first place, though. And now he's got a pretty severe lead. He's got a whole 3 points ahead of everybody.
Everybody, and I mean,
Yeah.
he finished him in the first round. He made weight, and then it was just.
Oh, I don't know if it was it in the first round, or was it second? Okay, yeah.
And what's it called? It's just that guy has a major league on a lead on everybody, and so it's like if you're going to have boring fights, you're going to get punished for it. You're not going to be able to fight for the championship, which is, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of hard because you want to see the best of the best fight each other in a promotion, but it's also to where it's like, no, like if you want to be the champion, you have to prove it. You have to show that you can go out there and you can finish these guys, you can beat these guys, and that you deserve to be in that spotlight, So, I mean, I do like how they do it. It makes things more exciting. It's kind of like when Pride had their first round was a 10-minute round.
Yeah.
You know,
Like you can't go out there and hope to control the other guy for 10 minutes straight because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you try to do that, it's really high risk. So with this, like, can you imagine losing to someone throughout the season but winning all your other fights and then having to fight them in the semifinals? And you're like, oh, geez, if I want to be the champion, I gotta go beat this guy who's kind of had my number this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's definitely interesting to see. And so I'm excited for that card. And I'm gonna definitely be watching that tomorrow. It premieres Thursday, so I'll be looking forward to that one.
Well, now we can talk about the there's one FC card going on right now while we're recording, and the people who are actually walking out are Colby Northcutt. She's a sister of Sage Northcutt. She's fighting Courtney. I am blanking on her name.
Martin?
Courtney Martin from Australia. Colby Northcutt's a really fun fighter to watch. I think she kept more of a traditional karate kickboxing style than Sage did. So she's a bit more of a, she'll sit there and strike with anybody. And I think Sage kind of has, I don't want to say an issue, but he ends, because he tried to establish himself as a striker, he ends up getting paired up with a lot of really heavy-handed strikers, or just heavy finishing kind of guys. And she's pretty good at it. She's long, she's lanky, so she utilizes it very well. She has a lot of fun in her fights too, so it's not just good fights. She has a lot of fun. She's very comfortable with it. And with her going into 1FC, she's had a lot of success. Actually, today is her husband Raymond Daniels' birthday. We just talked about Raymond Daniels in one of the last episodes. Human highlight reel. Yeah, the dude's really exciting. So hopefully, I'm sure I'm sure she is hoping to go out there and get a win on his birthday. Well, didn't get a whole lot cooler than that. What are the other fights on this card?
I know Eddie Alvarez is going to be fighting on this card. Also, he's having pretty quick turnaround since that disqualification fight that he lost that he had, but it got overturned to a no contest, which was really nice to see.
Yeah.
I don't think he was doing anything wrong. I mean, I know that there were shots to the back of the head, but I don't think there were severe shots to the back of the head. Granted, I mean, it is the back of the head. You really can't say much when it comes to it. I mean, everybody's different. But he is fighting tonight in their Grand Prix that they're holding. And who else is fighting? They also have a Muay Thai fight. I love watching 1FC's Muay Thai fights because
they're always so fun.
They're fun, dude. And you're watching people who are traditional Muay Thai fighters, and they go out there with 4-ounce gloves instead of typical Muay Thai boxing gloves.
Yeah. And so the finishes, just the hits in general end up being a lot more. You see them land, and you see how it affects the fighters, and it's definitely, you see the efficacy of the punches, and how much it changes the game for the fighters who are new to that kind of glove. So when they get hit and they feel a bit more of a force, and they realize, okay, no, I gotta go out here and I gotta fight. I can't just sit here and feel this person out as long as I used to.
Yeah. And so it's definitely, I think Nikki Holtzkin shows it best as well, is that there's a change in stances as well when compared to the traditional Muay Thai stance.
You got to be a little tighter.
You got to be a little tighter. You have to kind of shift your body a little more as well. I mean, it's the same thing with boxing and MMA boxing. The stances are going to be a little different. So I just think it's definitely cool to see that. I mean, Holtzkin's definitely shown that he's adjusted to that, and he's able to throw that because a lot of Muay Thai is you're kind of heavy on your back leg. You're kind of up straight, square, straight forward. While with Holskin stance, he kind of just turns a little bit. He kind of pivots
Slims
his hips
himself
out
out,
more. Yeah,
becomes less of a target.
exactly. And so it's definitely going to be interesting to see, that fight tonight as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as Colby Northcutt's opponent, Courtney Martin, I'm bad today. She's got one loss and I think 6-7 wins. Most of them by submission. Most of her wins by submission. So I think this is a pretty interesting matchup for Colby Northcutt. She's finally gotten a true grappler versus striker matchup on her hands. So if she goes in there and starts getting taken down, it's going to be interesting to see how she handles that, which we're going to get to watch live.
Yeah.
So we'll probably come back and comment on that as we see more.
Yeah, because Sage Northcutt, I mean, when he was getting taken down, he wasn't really able to do much with
his fight against Mickey Gall. He couldn't do a whole lot. So when it got standing, and he started rocking Mickey Gall, he got real excited, and then Mickey Gall got up and knocked him out.
Yeah.
Which it was just kind of like, come on, Sage, you're so much better than this.
There was another guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he fought him, and the second went to the ground, and Sage just looked like he didn't know what to do at all, and then the guy started laying down, just throwing down punches on him. Eventually, the guy got a choke on him and choked him out, and he does have a couple submissions lost because of that. So it's gonna be kind of interesting to see what adjustments she makes. I'm sure she's because look at Raymond Daniels, her husband. Who would have thought that guy would have been going for takedowns his last fight?
Well, I think in his situation he could afford to and not have to worry too much about it.
Yeah,
he was winning that fight by so much. So he was winning that fight so dominantly that they literally said to the other fighter, like, "Hey, you're not gonna take a whole lot more damage. We're gonna ease this win for you. Don't worry about it." So that's the reason he was going for the takedowns. But the Northcutt family is like they're really interesting. Those guys are just freak athletes.
Yeah,
every single one of them. Their dad trains them so hard. He raised them to be great athletes with minds for competition. And they're all some of the nicest people. So it's really cool seeing them all have success. I definitely hope that if Sage is going to keep fighting after his loss to Cosmo Alexandra, I hope that he has had the coaching and the training to kind of help correct these issues he's had. And, maybe they weren't really issues. Maybe he's just getting caught. But I think over time, if you keep getting caught or if something keeps happening, you have something to work on.
Yeah.
So I really hope that he starts seeing some success again if he starts fighting. If not, though, he's got such a bright future ahead of him as far as just the fitness world in general. He can do anything he wants.
Yeah, whatever he does. Like you said, it's just his dad, his parents just have always established that these guys are going to be successful. And so they're very mentally strong. They know what they're doing. They're
work
smart.
Ethic that they have.
He was going to Texas A&M, so you can't be dumb going to a school like that.
And the other brother is the same way.
Yeah.
They're all very smart. They're all, like I said, they all have the minds for the competition. Physically, there's no question about it. They are all physically gifted. They are all in amazing shape. Every single one of their family members is amazing shape. So it's just cool to see how they do. Looking like right now, like I had said, Courtney Martin's got Colby Northcutt up against the cage, going for a takedown.
She's working hard for it too.
Yeah. And she's got it. So, but you see Colby Northcutt immediately trying to get that half guard and she's pulling guard, working high, maybe going for a triangle, or at least trying to get a sweep.
Courtney Martin just passed her guard pretty easily too.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep moving.
Yeah.
You brought up the Eddie Alvarez DQ earlier, and I feel like that's something that's pretty cool. You don't get that a lot.
No.
You don't get a lot of appeals that actually get overturned. I feel like that's something that I wish would happen more, simply for the sake of showing some sort of movement forward, because I feel like there's a lot of fights that need to be looked back on, and they don't look back on them at all. And with Eddie Alvarez DQ, what had happened was he was, like we had said when we talked about it at first, he had his head pinned against the other guy's head, and he was punching the guy, so it was kind of hard for him to see. But that being said, I think he knew that the punches were to the back of the head. He maybe thought they were closer to the ear than they were, and then you had the guy lay down real quick. I don't know if he was trying to get away from the punches, and then Eddie Alvarez keeps throwing the punches, and the ref had already warned him because of the previous punches. Oh, yep, she did get these in an armbar. Colby Northcutt got the armbar win. Solid. Now she's establishing that she does have a ground game. She's establishing to anyone else who wants to come fight her, like, hey, you want to take me down? Go for it. I love to see that. I love to see fighters who are strikers who can handle themselves on the ground, and that's exactly the kind of reason why, because you get someone who's so dominant on the ground like Courtney Martin.
Yep.
Colby Northcutt finishing up from the bottom is a big deal. Anytime you have someone take you down because that's their world, and then you finish them from the bottom, I think that's such a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's good to see that she's obviously working off her back. She's working on her jiu-jitsu. And so I'm always excited to see that. Like Raymond Daniels, I'm excited to see him get a submission win. I'm like, man, this is gonna be crazy.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
You don't think so?
I think the only way that happens is if he like in the last fight, and nothing against Dominick, he showed a lot of heart. But I feel like if Raymond Daniels goes out there and has that happen again, where it's a guy where he's just putting a clinic on him in the first round, second round, they're like, hey, go easy again, take him down, show off your ground game a little bit. And he'll probably go in there and be a little bit more aggressive and go for trying to isolate an arm or a head, or just going for something anytime the other guy leaves it out there. But I don't think he puts himself in that position again. That's such a rare thing for him to go for a takedown.
When I think about that, I always think of when Chris Lieben got a triangle win over what's that, Yoshihiro Akiyama.
It was so cool too, because Akiyama was fighting his hardest to get out of it. He was freaking dropping Chris Lieben onto the canvas.
And Chris Lieben was exhausted. And you see,
and he was not gonna let go though.
His foot wasn't even fully behind his knee itch or nothing. It
was like up behind his calf.
Yeah, it was more on the foot, on the top of the foot. You wanted more towards the ankle.
Feet hooked.
Yeah, it was like right there. And then whenever he got it, it was just like, man, that's intense. And it was just, I don't know, it was crazy as shit that to see that. It was like, man, who would have thought Chris Lieben's going to go for a freaking triangle? But man, that fight though, if anybody ever wants to go watch that fight, Chris Lieben versus Yoshihiro Akiyama.
They call him Sexy Yama, the Japanese sensation. And that guy was so fun.
He is fun, and he still fights. That's what's insane to see. He's still doing it.
It's crazy. He's got such a weird look. He's so tan, it makes him look kind of old. And then he dyes his hair gray, and it makes him look even older.
Yeah, he's going for that platinum look.
Yeah,
staying hip with the kids.
But some other things that have happened in bare knuckle fighting, they got a few more signings. Fighters with the UFC, two of which are Rachel Ostovich and Pearl Gonzalez. Two fighters who I feel they had issues in the UFC. MMA may just not be their sport. They didn't have a whole lot of success. They couldn't string together wins.
Yeah.
So maybe going to bare knuckle might kind of help them with that, because it's just worrying about your boxing.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about so much. They can go in and focus on the one discipline of fighting.
Yeah, which is, I always think about with bare knuckle is when I watch it, you look at somebody like Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
And so you watch that guy, and it's like he was a former world champion. When he went into doing, bare knuckle, he fought Artem Lobov. It's like he tried to take his traditional boxing stance, boxing movements, stick and move, do that. But he's also had a lot of hand injuries. He's done it for years. I think he actually broke both of his hands in that fight. And it's just, there is that technicality that it just doesn't really work very well. Like, look at Dat Nguyen.
It's just like with what we were saying with the Muay Thai fights.
Yeah.
When you change gloves, it does make a big difference. I mean, in this case, they're going from was it like 14-ounce gloves to no gloves.
Yeah. Just
so when you get hit, it does impact you more than getting hit with a really padded glove. So that you do have to change a lot with your movements.
Yeah, and it's just like even whenever you punch somebody or punch anything with your bare hand, it hurts, and so it makes you think twice about, dude, how hard do I want to hit this person?
You start hitting and you're a little off center, and you hit their forehead, you're gonna hurt your hand a lot.
Yeah,
you have to be careful. So I think MMA fighters going over to bare knuckle fighting is really, really popular and common right now. And I think that's why. I think it's because they're a little more used to that style of boxing.
Yeah.
They're coming from MMA boxing to going to bare knuckle boxing, where they know how to throw the punches without hurting themselves. But they do have to adopt more of a boxing style. So you're seeing a lot of these guys go over there, losing their first fight, and then readjusting and coming back looking a lot better.
Yeah.
But you're also having a lot of people in bare knuckle FC, like Johnny Bedford, Chris Lieben, Artem Lobov that we were talking about, and they're having a lot of success.
Yeah.
But they're having a lot of success because they adopted well to that style. I think Chris Lieben's going to have success in any combat sport he does, just because he's so tough and durable.
I wish he would have got involved in BKFC a lot earlier in his career. I think he would have been phenomenal.
Well, I think he had a lot of stuff he had to work through with himself.
Yeah.
And what he was doing in life. So when he did, he started working bare knuckle FC. But I think, I wish it would have been. It would have been cool if he had done it a lot sooner. I hope he gets that Jake Paul fight.
That'd be exciting. So. Forgot who. I'm trying to remember who is that dude calling for Usman.
Oh yeah, Usman and him were sad. So what was that thing you sent me? Jake Paul and Chael Sonnen.
Oh yeah, it was like a big joke.
Yeah, I wish though.
That'd be funny.
I wish
that'd be
though.
Super funny too, because that's what this is entertainment. Both those guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
they can talk.
Yeah.
Well, Jake Paul can talk, but he's not really saying anything. Chael Sonnen is saying a lot and he's talking a lot, but it's all meant to be funny. Yeah. Oh, man, what were the strings of rhymes he'd put together? They were so funny. John Jones and
Chael Sonnen's a former
Sean
Golden Gloves
Combs.
champion. You can't forget that. He's
Golden Gloves?
Golden Gloves, yeah.
Yeah. Biggest arm in Westland, Oregon.
Yeah, Uncle Chael.
Oh, man, it'd be so fun to watch him just fight again.
Yeah, I wish he would.
Stop making these whack predictions and go give us a good fight.
I am so happy though that Kamaru Usman broke the Chael Sonnen curse. I was very excited to see that.
The predictions.
Yeah.
Who'd you have to win that fight?
Who I knew who was gonna win that fight, but I still picked Jorge Masvidal. I got the round right though, so I wasn't as spot on as Zach was. But
that's something.
Yeah, so I mean,
especially with how crazy that card was, getting anything right in that card meant something, because you start off with a fight that ended after the first round, but before the second round, in between rounds. That's can't predict that.
No.
Then the next one, the first strike landing is what ended the fight, and it was for the fighter who threw the strike. You can't predict that.
That's what when I went to, because me and Zach, we like to go, and there's an app that we use to kind of bet like points on these fights and stuff. And so when I went
Shout
to
out to Verdict MMA.
Yeah, I mean they also
check out their app.
They have the PFL fights on there as well now.
Yeah, they have the PFL. They added the Triller fight card as well whenever that happened. So I mean that was kind of cool.
And so
I guess
what's that? So there was. It's always fun to do that, just to kind of joke around. But even like the top guys, they weren't even they had no idea. I mean, you saw their picks; none of them expected that card to go down.
Actually, there's one guy who picked like everything correctly.
Really?
Yeah, he even had Anthony Smith by knockout in the first round. Granted, that's not what he meant, but he had that. He had Uriah Hall by knockout in the first round, which he got. But again, that's not what he meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy. But it's a really cool app, Verdict MMA.
That's what Zach ended up in the top 25% last Friday because he put points on Quick Collar beating Anthony Pettis.
And that he did. That was a good one. So, the next thing that we have to talk about is going to be this weird situation that keeps coming up with Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
So the last thing that we talked about was the Twitter beef between them, where Conor was talking all this mess to Dustin for calling him out for not paying the $500,000 donation to Dustin's Good Fight Foundation. But now Conor has donated $500,000 to the Boys and Girls Club,
I believe, yeah.
in Louisiana. I don't know if he was trying to do that, like, oh no, I'll make the donation, just not to you, buddy, not for your cause. Yeah. But what was it you said?
The Boys and Girls Club that he donated to is actually in affiliations with the Good Fight Foundation. So he still ended up technically giving money to the Good Fight Foundation.
It's not with what Dustin Poirier was trying to do with the gym that he's working on.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. And Dustin Poirier's reaction was really just, I don't care, man. As long as people are getting help, who cares?
Yeah, you did exactly what
he was pretty happy.
Was going to do with it.
People were saying, oh, it was a slap in the face. And Dustin Poirier said, no, it's more like a high five because we both are helping the community.
Yeah.
So something he's working on right now, he's working on helping people in Uganda. They're going to be donating money and going there, sending people there to build villages and houses and set up clean water for them. And he's working with Justin Wren.
I'm about to ask you about that.
Yeah, he's working with Justin Wren and Khabib on it.
Justin Wren has had malaria.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's insane.
And I'm sure that while he had malaria, he was building houses for someone.
Yeah.
Because he is such a nice guy. This guy is a former fighter in the UFC. I think he still competes every so often in Bellator.
Yeah.
But he's done so much charity work. I can't even list it, but he's worked in Uganda for a very long time with the Pygmy people. Actually, his Instagram handle is Pygmy Justin, I think, or the Big Pygmy. He's such a freaking nice guy. He's so cool. He built houses like we were talking about. He built houses and he worked on latrines and he worked on getting these people clean water who went without for so long in Uganda. And then there was this bullying thing that went viral on the internet with Braden, who has it's kind of been a while now and I don't remember quite as much, but he was being bullied for issues that he has, and there's this video where these kids are picking on him and they're pushing him and they're hitting him and they're just running off, and then another kid will run up and hit him and run off, and he's just kind of standing there taking it, and he's much larger than them. So it's like if this kid had it in him to grab one of these kids and throw him on the ground, he absolutely could have. But it ended up starting the movement Stand with Braden. Or is it Raiden? Man, it's been so long. I feel like I can't even remember it. I think it's Stand with Braden. But Justin Wren picked him up and he helped this kid. He brought him along onto a lot of into the MMA world, and he showed him a lot of different training. He did a lot of drills with him. He brought him to his gym and helped him there. He took him to like ball games and like NASCAR races or something. He did all kinds of stuff with this kid to help him out. And this kid seems like he's just living a much happier life now. And it starts with people like Justin Wren. So Dustin Poirier working with Justin Wren is a really cool thing. I'm pretty happy that Justin Wren gets that shout out because I feel like you can't give a guy who does what he does enough credit.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely good to see it. This guy just at the end of the day, and also he's actually he's born in Dallas. So
Justin Wren is.
Yeah, and so which is I think it's really cool.
It's not Houston, but it's all right, I guess.
Hey,
a guy like that will take the exception.
And so he what's that? I remember he talked about like he actually got bullied back in high school.
Yeah.
He's openly talked about that. So I think him doing an anti-bullying campaign is pretty cool.
And I'm sure it's pretty easy for him because since it hits close to home.
Yeah, and so I think he's even talked about like I think once he made it into the UFC and stuff, and the guys who bullied him one time invited him out to lunch, and he said that
he talked about that. I remember that.
Yeah, he just said he's like, I think I said I was going to the bathroom, I just left. I was like, no, these guys are still these same exact guys.
Yes, they're still trying to give him crap and just finding any little thing they could. Yeah, I do remember
Yeah.
that.
And it's like, man, this guy's just a genuinely nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the whole Dustin Connor thing. Either way, I mean, it still helped out people. I mean, he kept his word. He donated his 500,000, which is a ton of money, to a charity, which is it's still going to go towards people who need it.
Yeah.
And it's in affiliation with Dustin's Good Fight
Yeah,
Foundation.
I'm sorry. It wasn't Khabib. I said it was Justin Wren and Khabib. It was Justin Wren and Manny Pacquiao.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, and I think he's just trying to ruffle some feathers, trying to get under his skin a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe that's not what he was doing. Maybe he was just like, you know what, I told Dustin Poirier I would give him this, and that fell through. So let me go ahead and let me give that 500,000 to someone. So maybe he's not trying to ruffle feathers. Maybe it isn't about setting up a show for everybody and trying to hype something up. Maybe he's just trying to do something nice.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
when you
also
live in the public eye like that, it's hard to do anything.
I completely agree with it. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, can you believe that? That's a slap in the face to Dustin." But at the end of the day, it's like, "Hey, man, I mean, can we just be appreciative of what he did? Like, it's gonna help people out who need it, and so that's the most important thing." And I actually just, I know this is off subject, but something that came up last night, and I was really upset about it, was the Dillashaw versus Sandhagen fight.
Oh no,
happening May 8th. That fight is off. Dillashaw suffered a injury in training, not severe injury. He just had to get stitches above his right eyebrow. And he won't be able to fight May 8th. And so it sucks to see it. I was excited to see him back, even though he did get caught cheating, and he's openly talked about it and stuff. But
he looks different. He looks a lot different. He actually trains with Colby Northcutt.
Yeah.
Who again just got an armbar win over Courtney Martin.
Yeah.
But they train out of a garage.
Sam Calviti, circuit conditioning coach.
Yeah. It's TJ Dillashaw, Raymond Daniels, Colby Northcutt, and they train out of a garage with this guy, and this guy, what was his name again?
Sam Calviti.
Okay. When you said it a second ago, it was a little. I said it
kind of fast.
I'm sorry. But yeah, they train really hard. They train really well. It's really nice, but TJ Dillashaw just looks different. He looks cleaner. I'm hoping that he is cleaner.
Yeah.
In all the different senses of the word.
Yeah.
Because I really think he's a great fighter. He's changed so much coming into the sport as such a heavy wrestler, and then fighting nothing but heavy-handed strikers, where he ends up having to adopt a new style completely. He ended up kind of taking on Dominick Cruz's style of striking a little bit, and then tweaking it to fit him out, his own self, and his body and how he moves, and it worked out really well. Got him to the championship. Has 2 knockout wins of Renan Barão, or 1 knockout win and 1 decision win. 2 knockout wins of Renan Barão, which is something hard to do in itself.
Yeah, back in the day, that's when Renan Barão was
on his tear.
He was on like a 35 win streak and been undefeated for almost 10 years. And he just went out there, and everyone thought this guy was just a sacrificial lamb for just a fill-in fight for Renan Barão. What was next for him? Because Renan Barão at the time, Dana White even said he was the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And TJ Dillashaw went out there and just fucking put it on him, dude. It was bad. It was a clinic, and you would have never expected that out of TJ Dillashaw. This guy,
and that's what I'm saying. His Ultimate Fighter finale for the season he was on, he got knocked out by John Dodson because he just wasn't a striker.
Not at all.
And John Dodson is such a small, compact guy. When you shoot in on him, he's a freak athlete. That's why I call him the magician.
Yeah, he is 5'3". Yeah, and it's like that's insane.
And he runs up the cage and does backflips every single time.
Yeah,
but it's like I said, it's crazy to see how far TJ Dillashaw has come, and it sucks to see all of that tainted with PEDs. So I hope that he is able to come back, and I would love to see him come back against someone like Corey Sandhagen, because I think that that's a very big fight to come back on.
Yeah.
And if you come back and you win against someone like Corey Sandhagen, especially right now, it says a lot. Corey Sandhagen's last fight was the flying knee knockout of Frankie Edgar, and that's the first time I've ever seen Frankie Edgar go out like that.
Yeah.
That was rough. He went out stiff.
Yeah, he freaking rolled his ankle when he was falling. It was such a terrible knockout. It was quick. It was less than 30 seconds into the first round. And then just Corey Sandhagen saw the read. He's a very smart fighter. And I think
Sandman.
his last loss before that was his loss to Aljamain Sterling, who's the current bantamweight champion right now in the UFC.
Well,
I mean, paper champ.
throw an
But,
asterisk.
let's put something over that. I won't
there.
call that's kind of rude to call somebody paper champ, but he kind
No,
of
it's
is.
not.
He kinda,
Well, look, what happened when Aljamain Sterling won the championship was Peter Yan threw a very obvious and flagrant illegal knee. There's different perspectives on why he threw the illegal knee.
yeah.
But I don't think it matters. Would you really risk your championship for something like that? If you can't tell if it's illegal or not, every fighter knows. In the UFC, you can't kick a downed opponent in the head. So maybe he only had one hand. Maybe he wasn't doing this, or maybe he wasn't doing that. Which you don't know what athletic commission or what state you're in. Maybe it's illegal. Maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Don't jeopardize your title on that.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
I mean, it was only I think it was almost 4 minutes into the fourth round. So I mean, he was already
and he had already been winning that fight.
He was
dominantly
dominating that fight.
And so because he did that, he got disqualified. Aljamain Sterling couldn't continue. He was quote unquote concussed and so close to being knocked out, couldn't physically continue.
Yeah.
And then whenever they strap the belt around him, he's like, "Oh no." And then takes pictures with it, posing, and then goes to after parties, drinking, holding up the belt.
Says he was throwing up for the concussion that he got. Even the doctor said he didn't have a concussion.
The doctor said he did not have a concussion.
Yeah, he said he's throwing up from the concussion that he didn't medically have, and was seen taking shots and drinking. And it was like one of the things that he had said too is after the fight he had been interviewed about it. He did a pre-fight press conference. I forgot what card. I think it was the following card. And he had said, "Yeah, man, I was just trolling." But the thing is trolls don't say they're trolling; they just fucking do it, you know. Yeah. And so it's just kind of a lame thing to say. It's like, look, man, if you're gonna troll, that's cool. You do your thing. You piss people off, and it'll bring you eyes no matter what. I mean, look what some of these guys are doing now. You know, I mean, Henry Cejudo, he was the king of cringe for the longest time, and I mean, I didn't like it at all. I didn't think it was entertaining at all. But people talked about it, and I think with what Aljamain was doing and him just kind of egging people on, he was able to kind of put some more eyes on him. But yeah, I don't really think that, you know, when he says he's trolling, it's like, no, you're just getting called out on what's going on, and you're just saying that
he's kind of floundering, trying to figure out what to say next.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, it was just with that happening though, it's like, you know, the Dillashaw versus Sandhagen fight, that was supposed to be the number one contender shot, the title shot, you know,
which I feel like Sandhagen has. I think that's his. I think he deserves it. I think that's just kind of another Leon Edwards situation where you have a guy who he is the number one contender. He's earned it. And then you have someone who's coming back. He's a big name. He's a big deal. But it's like, come on. Why does how has he earned it with the current pool of fighters in the top 5? How has TJ Dillashaw earned a number one contender shot? Yeah. Other than the fact that he's TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, I mean,
it just doesn't make sense to me.
He was champion whenever he got disqualified, but I mean, there was already allegations of him being on steroids from before while he was champion, and he was able to do that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I didn't really agree with him getting the next shot. I thought it should have been Rob Font versus Corey Sandhagen. I think that fight made plenty of sense. Both those guys have finished Marlon Reyes, who is a very tough competitor.
Another PFL success there.
Yeah, and so I thought that made more sense. But I understand why they gave it to Dillashaw, though. I mean, he was a champion for a long time. He was a very dominant fighter. But it sucks to see that fight got called off, and hopefully they can rebook it very soon. And so Michelle Waterson will be the headline of that card.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She's taken the who's she fighting?
I can't remember. I was actually just watching something talk about how she's going to headline the card as well.
Well, Michelle Waterson's always fun to watch. She's again, another super nice person. So her fighting is always fun to watch. It's always fun to... It's always good to know that she's getting more opportunities to move up, because I think she's always going to be kind of associated with top 10, or at least top 10. But I would like to see her get a win. She's coming off of a win against Angela Hill, and before that she has a loss. So I'd like to see her win, because I think she needs it if she wants to keep moving forward. I think if she gets a win, it might set up a cool possible rematch with Rose Namajunas. I think that'd be cool.
So yeah,
Marina Rodriguez.
we were talking earlier about Diego Sanchez and his coach Joshua Fabio kind of going on their own little tangent they had. Diego Sanchez just pulled out of that fight today.
Really?
Yeah.
Against Donald Cerrone?
Yep.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
That's his retirement fight. What did he pull out from?
Undisclosed injury.
Undisclosed?
Undisclosed reasons. Yeah. That fight is off, and I was really looking forward to that fight. So they're trying to find Donald Cerrone a replacement for a fight happening next week. And I don't know anybody that wants to take on, even though Donald Cerrone's on a skid right now and probably on the back end of his career. I don't know anybody who's going to want to fight that dude last minute.
Give him Nico Price.
That would
run that rematch.
He's suspended.
He's suspended.
Yeah, he popped a marijuana.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's so stupid.
And even though USADA is okay with it, it's just the state didn't allow it.
The state he was in, yeah.
The state didn't allow it.
I think that either way, Nico Price is big.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be able to cut the weight. When is the fight set?
What was that? The
Cerrone Sanchez fight?
It's set for next week.
Next
Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know. Nico Price, he's a gym rat, but I don't know if he could do a full weight cut in a week. Yeah. So even if he wasn't suspended, but I can't wait to watch them run it back though. They're so fun to watch.
They are very fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, it's just I was really looking forward to that fight as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I wonder what that undisclosed injury is.
I don't know.
And I wonder who reported it. I wonder if it was Joshua Fabia.
I don't believe anything.
If you don't know who Joshua Fabia is, look up anything about him, and you will understand what kind of person he is. He's
a fucking joke, honestly.
He's interesting. I think that he has done a lot for Diego Sanchez and how Diego Sanchez views himself. Because Diego Sanchez is interesting himself. He has always had kind of weird beliefs. On the first season of Ultimate Fighter, you have all these guys who are just going nuts, playing games, roughhousing, and you have him doing yoga off in the yard by himself. What's up?
Marino Rodriguez is who Michelle Watterson is fighting. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I zoned out. Sorry, I think whenever that happened, I just read about Diego Sanchez being pulled out, having to pull out.
Well, yeah. So I think Joshua Fabia he has done a lot for Diego Sanchez's psyche, but I think, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. But I would feel like Diego Sanchez is working with Spencer Fisher over at Spencer Fisher's gym, and I think that's good for him. I think he needs that. I think he needs kind of an old school reality check, maybe. I don't know how those guys see. I know that Spencer Fisher really respects Diego Sanchez, and I know that he is a big proponent of anyone trying to do different ways of fighting or different ways of approaching the fight game. But I don't know. I hope he and his guys can get Diego Sanchez fighting like Diego Sanchez again.
Yeah, bring back the nightmare.
Yeah, stop with his dream.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. They got to get rid of Joshua Fabia. I cannot stand that guy. He's an idiot.
I just wish he would stop interrupting on Diego Sanchez's interviews. Those are Diego's interviews. Why are you even there?
Have you ever watched Joshua Fabia's self-defense videos?
The ones where he goes for the throat and the balls?
Yeah.
Or the ones where he dodges punching bags?
The throw in the balls one. That was that's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
Emil Meek talked about in training camps, that guy would chase you around with a knife, and be like, you always gotta be ready. You never know what's gonna happen. And he actually sliced Emil Meek's back with a knife. And that guy's.
I wish Emil Meek was the kind of guy, because Emil Meek is he's, what is his background? He's Scandinavian.
Yeah.
So I wish he would just let out the inner Viking and just storm that dude down and just beat him. It's stuff like that. I don't care what Joshua Fabia has done with Diego Sanchez. All the accusations of touch butt.
Yeah.
I don't care that if that could, because that is Joshua Fabia, but it's also Diego Sanchez. That's how Diego Sanchez, he believes things, and when he believes in something, that it becomes so very real to him, that is his next key to success. So I don't know. I hope that people stop inviting Joshua Fabia to teach self-defense, because I know they had like a military group. I can't remember if it was
He did
Marine
like a
Corps.
military self-defense class.
I
like,
think it was
a
Marine
seminar.
Corps or Army,
Yeah.
Green Berets. I don't remember. But they invited him to do self-defense, and apparently everybody was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then they're watching this guy talk about all the weird stuff that he does, and the way he wants to move away from knives and guns, and that's going to help him. And they were just like, can we go? This guy is a freak. It just reminds me so much of this Steven Seagal. When the police academies would or the military groups would have him come in, the bases would have him come in and teach them self-defense.
Yeah, man, that keto stuff will kill you.
And they're like, yeah, so we're gonna have like, we're gonna have a very traditional martial artist, very world renowned, come in and teach you guys some stuff, a little seminar today. And they're like, oh, cool. So who is it? Like Gracie, or is it like Liddell, or someone cool? They're like, no, it's Steven Seagal. You've seen him in movies. You've seen him on TV, and it's so hard to believe. Even like his most, what is the word? Credible, I guess, accolades of back when he was practicing Aikido and doing those seminars and earning his belts or whatever. It's so hard to believe that any of that stuff is real, because you just have him flipping people over, quote unquote, with their momentum against them, with his wrists. Not even really his arms. He just kind of flicks his wrist at them and they fall into a backflip and land on the ground, and they're writhing in pain. And it's just wild, and it's so fake.
Have you ever seen that video of what's that? Jean-Claude Van Damme accidentally kicking Cody Garbrandt in the face?
Yes, that was a pretty solid one. I feel like Jean-Claude Van Damme is another guy who, in a traditional martial arts, yeah, he'd be great. And I think that I think he's great in traditional martial arts, especially like Taekwondo or just kickboxing. But when you put him into like a real street fight, I don't know that he does that well. Even prime
Cody Garbrandt
Jean-Claude
was so
Van
pissed
Damme.
off at
Yeah, I
him.
would have
Dude,
been
it was
too.
so funny.
I would have been too.
I felt bad for Jean-Claude Van Damme because he did not mean to do that at all. But yeah, no, he kicked him in the face and he was pissed. But I still think Jean-Claude Van Damme beats up Steven Seagal. That's a whole,
for sure.
Yeah, that's a whole different time.
Well, I would never pair them up and think, oh, that'd be a good matchup. Now, anyone paired up with Steven Seagal is probably going to beat Steven Seagal unless you're a stuntman who's paid to let Steven Seagal hurt you.
Oh, like these guys
That's
at
the only
seminars.
time he hurts him. Like what?
Yeah, like these guys at the seminars.
Yeah. Well, no, supposedly on a lot of these, or not supposedly, you could look it up. A lot of these guys in these movies that have worked with Steven Seagal, like stuntmen and other actors, they've said that in action sequences he's actually injured them and broken limbs or something because of what he does. And it's like, does that make you feel cool? Does that make you feel like big and strong and like you know what you're doing? Because that tells me that you know less of what you're doing than a professional, because professionals can do it without hurting each other.
Yeah.
And that's why on all these stupid movies and stuff, they're like, oh, don't do this home. These are trained professionals. You're not a trained professional if you're going out there and hurting people.
Yeah, you're doing an amateur's job pretty much. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of him, but
So I remember the thing was always like, these action stars who would win, like you have Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger,
yeah,
Jean-Claude Van Damme and like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Jet Li, have all these action stars, and it's like, who would be the best? And I've never understood why Steven Seagal's name would ever go out there with those guys.
no, I mean, but it's just, I don't know. I've never really taken. It's kind of funny to watch. I'm sure Steven Seagal probably beat me up, but you know what? I mean, he's a trained professional. I'm not. So
Devin, if you get beat up by Steven Seagal, we're not friends.
it's gonna be just the Bear podcast.
Yeah.
Like we're not even gonna let you.
No, I'll just find someone else named Devin. I think we'll get someone else out here to be the dev.
Yeah, good luck with
that, bud. No one can replace you, bud.
Thanks, man. But
you just can't lose to Steven Seagal. That's the only way we got this job is we had to sign that we would not lose in a fight against Steven Seagal.
I think Joshua Fabio would be a tough one though. That dude would go for my throat and my nuts. Like I don't know how I would be able to react.
Well, how about this? Joshua Fabio versus Steven Seagal.
I'm gonna go Seagal.
Put him on the next Triller fight, Jake Paul. You won't.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Won't. Oscar
De La Hoya, yeah. Snoop Dogg, whoever.
Frank Mir had a lot of strong words for Oscar De La Hoya.
He did, but I think for the most part he kept his cool. He wasn't too worried about it.
He wasn't like very disrespectful about it, but he did just say, he's like, look, like it seems like you having a problem and you need to get help.
Yeah.
You know, the way you were acting wasn't cool because he was really discrediting Steve Cunningham, who Frank Mir had fought. And Steve Cunningham has shared the ring with some great fighters. I mean, I think he almost went all 12 with Tyson Fury.
He's a legitimized boxer.
Yeah, and at the time, like a lot of people were saying that like Steve Cunningham was probably on his way to beating Tyson Fury too, which is a big deal. I mean, it's just definitely opinion based. What's that?
I think it depends on who you ask, because the way Tyson Fury fights, a lot of times people think he's getting beat, but it's because he's just not really putting out a lot of effort yet.
Yeah.
But because he doesn't have to.
No.
With his style, with his length. With his size, he doesn't have to put a whole lot of effort into it. His technique is so good. He's gonna when he punches you, he's gonna be there, and you're gonna feel his punches because he knows where to throw them and how to throw them without having to tire himself out. So I think a lot of times when people think he's losing his fights, he's not really losing them. He's not trying to finish the guy.
Yeah, he's got a game plan. He knows what he has a very high fight IQ as well. So yeah,
this fight against Anthony Joshua is going to be a good one.
I'm excited for that fight.
I think that is the fight we should have gotten before we ever had Fury and Wilder, and we had 3 of those fights. 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was
and Deontay Wilder's trying to get a 3rd one.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
He's trying to get a 3rd one, but I mean,
that's not going to happen. You just got a decision loss in the first one and then a knockout loss in the second one.
Yeah, what should have been a decision loss, it was ended up being a draw, which everyone was like, how?
Yeah.
And what's it called? And I think that pissed a lot of people off, but I mean, they still buy the second one after.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, this is what boxing is. What are you surprised about?
But Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, that's the fight the fans deserve, because it's a much better fight. Anthony Joshua is one of the best heavyweight boxers right now, and his technique, I think he has the power of Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
With much, much better technique, much better speed. So I think the way that he boxes is going to be a big challenge for Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
So we may see the Gypsy King lose his crown.
We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. He's taking some big shots also. I mean, who's been able to take a shot from Deontay Wilder and get right back up?
Yeah, well, he did get knocked down, though.
Yeah, he did get knocked down. I mean, and the way he just lays back and he sits up like he fucking sat up like the Undertaker.
Pulled an Undertaker.
Yeah, he just sat up like the dead man, and I was like, oh shit. Like, and then like it was just funny watching it though. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I'm excited for that fight. You're gonna definitely see who is the best heavyweight boxer in the world, who is the baddest man on the planet, and there's a lot of talks of Francis Ngannou wants to fight the winner.
Yeah, and Tyson Fury's talked about it. He said he's like, oh, I'm down for that.
It'll be fun.
I think we've talked about this several times. If anyone has made it this far in our podcast, please go to our YouTube page and comment what you think. Best boxing and MMA, in my opinion, is Francis Ngannou. A lot of people will put Max Holloway in there, and I don't think he has bad boxing at all. I think his boxing is amazing, but he has MMA boxing. Pure traditional boxing, Francis Ngannou has the best pure boxing in MMA. So if he wanted to transition to boxing, I think it would go really well for him. Max Holloway could do bare knuckle boxing. I don't know if he would do as well in regular boxing.
Yeah. I remember because I was saying Max Holloway and you were saying Francis, and I remember going home and I actually looked into Francis Ngannou's boxing, saw his little short 30-second clip of him shadow boxing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he has this like double step jab that he does,
Yeah.
and it was just like it doesn't even look like he even steps. He just you see his whole body just like shudder across.
And the way
It
that
was
he
insane.
pivots on his foot, the
Yeah.
way that he moves his shoulders and holds his elbows in,
Yeah.
it's exactly how boxers want to be. So yeah, if you've made it this far in the podcast, listening to us ramble tonight, comment on our YouTube page. To go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe as well. But let us know who you think has the best pure boxing in MMA right now.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's someone that's better than Francis Ngannou, but I don't see it. Maybe I don't see it because of his power. If you think it's Max Holloway, let us know. If you think it's Francis Ngannou, let us know. If you think there's someone else who we're not mentioning, let us know.
Yeah.
Because I find that really interesting, especially with the amount of sport hopping right now.
Yeah.
Going to bare knuckle boxing or doing these wild, stupid celebrity fights over in Triller. I think it could be very interesting to see who does that. Kamaru's talking about it. Tyron Woodley's talking about it. Jorge Masvidal's talking about it. Mike Perry's talking about it. All these people are talking about going over to boxing. So yeah, if anyone thinks there's someone that we should be talking about, let us know.
Yeah. And so one more fight card happening this weekend that it's always I feel bad for these guys because they're kind of being overshadowed by the hype of UFC 261 is Dominick Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. And Prochazka. And so
big fan of Jiri here. That fight's very exciting because if you don't know who Jiri Prochazka is, look him up. He's going to be a big deal. But if he can't get past Dominick Reyes, that is going to be a big roadblock for him. But I think he gets past it. Mm-hmm. But I think that does a lot for Dominick Reyes. If Dominick Reyes can stop Jiri right now, it shoots him right back up.
It's like, like every time before we do these podcasts, we always look into fighters and we go back and forth. We'll talk with each other, call each other, text, and just talk about these guys who are coming in Jiri Prochazka.
Prochazka.
If you go and just look into his career, I mean, that guy's fought some killers, dude. He actually has a win over Vadim Nemkov, who is the Bellator lightweight heavyweight champion.
Wonderful.
Yep. He's beaten
Davis.
Phil Davis, and he's on a good win streak right now. His first fight in the UFC was against Volkan Ozdemir. He knocked him out in the first round.
Very fun fight, actually. It's very back and forth, but it's Yuri's style is so weird, especially early on, like in that fight. It's so weird because he has his hands low and he's doing weird things with it. He's trying to bait you.
Yeah.
He's a counter striker who loves to get going and then he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So a lot of counter strikers love to kind of backpedal or bait you into something and throw that 1-2 or just a quick combination or even just the one strike. He likes to do it and then he doesn't stop and he just keeps pushing you till you're done. But the way he stands is so weird that a lot of guys want to keep throwing. So it just makes for a really exciting fight, and I think Dominick Reyes is going to definitely feed into that, and it's going to be a lot of heavy strikes thrown, I think.
It's because Dominick Reyes, he's a forward fighter. I mean, he pushes forward a lot. He definitely is not a counter striker at all. I mean, he has shown
he likes to be the aggressor.
He has shown some counter strikes, but he showed one against Chris Weidman. That's how he knocked out Chris Weidman, was with the counter left
straight hook. Was it straight?
Straight hook. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, excuse me. Straight punch. Straight hook.
All those straight hooks there are.
Yeah, it was a straight punch that he knocked him out with. And Dominick Reyes has a crazy good left hand. And I know John Jones was kind of giving him some slack about it when they fought, saying, hey, well, all you are is left hand. All you are is left hand. And I think Dominick Reyes showed in that fight he's more than just a left hand. Which sucked to see him go against Jan Blachowicz. He had to meet the Polish power, and he got his nose broken, severely broken in the second round.
Well, I think there's a lot of fighters who just have that one move, but if it always works for them, you know, it is what it is. But unfortunately, with Dominick Reyes, it doesn't always work for him. Yeah. So
he just always tries to go for it, and I like to see what he does. He trains with Joe Stevenson, which I think is awesome to see.
Joe Stevenson's a smart guy.
Yeah, he's one of those other guys. He's been around for a very long time. And he kind of tried to go for another run. He was on the Ultimate Fighter Redemption, and
I didn't see that one. I really want to, but I haven't been able to watch
Jesse
it.
Taylor was on there. He wanted it again.
Yeah.
And so he actually tested positive after his win on the finale, and he got cut from the UFC.
Oh, wow.
And so,
Good one there.
Yeah. And so, And then Joe Stevens actually retired on the show. He's actually fully completely retired. And so, but there's a lot of great fights on this card that are kind of under the radar right now. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I think after a fight card like that, these guys coming in these fighters coming in know that they kind of have to build up the hype coming into this fight card that they're all on. They can't just go out there and just get an easy win or get a decision when they have to show that, hey, we're just as good as these other people who fought the week before.
Ronda Marcos is fighting on that card. I
saw that, yeah.
She's another Ultimate Fighter alumni. She's really good, but she's on a pretty bad losing streak to, for the most part, grapplers. She lost to Amanda Ribas, Mackenzie Dern, and then Kanako Murata. She's very good. So I think that she does come back. She does have a good fight in front of her with Luana Pinheiro. I really hope that she does get a win because I like her. I think she's very cool. I think she has a very smart approach to fighting. So I think if she can go in there and get a win, that does a lot for her stock. She needs it.
I'm excited to see Cub Swanson is fighting in the co-main event, which I'm excited. I'm always excited to see a Cub Swanson fight. So it's definitely a good one. He's fighting. I can't say the guy's last name.
Giga Chikadze.
Thank you.
I may be mispronouncing that too, but his name's been coming up. He's moving up. He's doing pretty well. I think Cub wins that fight though, because I think. Oh, and to make a prediction on the Dominick Reyes Jiri Prochazka fight, I think Jiri Prochazka knockout in the second round.
I'm gonna go second round. Dominick Reyes is probably gonna be a little slow starter. He knows he has to be careful. He's been met by counter strikes already. That's what got him knocked out against Jan Blachowicz. But Jiri is just he's a beast, dude. And he fought in Ryzen. He's fought some very, very good fighters. And before getting in the
Carl
UFC,
Albertson, who's a very strong grappler, had a very tough fight against him, but came back and got the knockout win.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And so,
Cub Swanson and Giga, I think that's a really good fight, but I think Cub's experience
is gonna
win, and I think I could see him getting the finish, but I think he definitely gets the win.
Yeah,
he's a really good fighter. Anywhere the fight goes, whether it's fighting standing on the ground. He's got a submission win over Dustin Poirier back when Dustin Poirier was submitting everybody. Yeah. Actually, no, it wasn't a submission win. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said that. As a decision win is what I meant to say. Yeah. And this was back when Dustin Poirier was submitting everybody, and it went to the ground, and he couldn't submit Cub. Cub was very good, so it stayed standing for the most fight.
Yeah, this was when Dustin came in, and he completely shook up the whole MMA, like the whole featherweight division in the UFC by beating Josh Gertzfey.
Yeah, on his debut.
Yeah. He was supposed to be next to fight Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
So
and he put it to everybody he fought, and then he had losses, but he would come back real hard against them afterwards. And then when he fought Cub, it was just a really exciting fight, and he lost by decision. I don't remember if it was split decision. I can't remember how close that fight was. I don't know how it would have been scored across 3 different judges, but it was a really good fight.
Yeah.
But anyway, I get Cub Swanson by decision.
I'm gonna go decision also. Looking in a Giga, and he's good everywhere. But I mean, he has been submitted once. He has lost a decision once, but he's never been knocked out. So that says a lot about his durability. And he's fought some very, very good guys.
It's a tough weight class.
Yeah, the featherweight is nothing to fuck around with. I mean, these guys go out there and just all they are is just smaller lightweights. I mean, they were honestly
they have that same power and arguably more speed.
Yeah, they're just able to cut that extra 10 pounds, and because cutting weight is definitely not easy at all. And I'm definitely gonna go Cub Swanson by decision. And then we have another light heavyweight. There's a couple of light heavyweight fights happening on the main card. You got Ion Kutaliba, who it's always exciting watching him fight.
Yeah, and he's fighting Dustin Jacoby, who is a former kickboxer. So I think that fight stays standing.
Yeah.
If Kutaliba wanted to take it to the ground, I'm sure he could. The couple of losses that Jacoby has are by submission.
Yeah.
But I think if it stays standing, it's a very exciting fight, and Kutaliba is always up for an exciting fight.
Which is crazy because Dustin Jacoby actually has a loss to Chris Camozzi by submission, who's fighting on the PFL card tomorrow night. So that's definitely going to be fun to watch. And I'm excited to see that. I know Dustin Jacoby was a middleweight fighter. Now he's going to light heavyweight. Ion Cutelaba, he's coming back. He does need a good win after his recent knockout loss
Is it 2 knockout losses or
in
is
a
it the
row.
one? Yeah,
Yeah.
to
Actually, excuse me. Yeah, both Magomed and
Magomed.
Ankalaev.
Yeah, Ankalaev is good.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. Oh, Kutalib has shown that he can be knocked out because Magomed's just that good.
He's gonna be a contender very soon. Yeah.
So that fight, I'm gonna go Dustin Jacoby.
Yeah.
But I think it goes to decision. I don't think he's gonna be able to finish Kutalib, but I think it's an exciting fight.
Yeah.
I see Kutalib winning, but I don't. If he wants to win, I think his best bet is take it to the ground, man. You're good on the ground, so go for it.
That's what. It's hard because I think I'm gonna go Kutsulaba. Honestly, I think.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, you don't really know who to pick because
it's a good fight. It's gonna be a fun fight.
Kutsulaba, he can bring it. We know that he can do it. And then Dustin Jacoby, I mean, he's a former pro kickboxer, and he has a stand up. And Ion Kutsulaba has shown some holes in his stand up. He's still very, very good, but I mean, he is. Obviously, he has a couple submission wins as well, but he is. I mean, he also has been submitted himself. So I mean, but I'm gonna go Kutsulaba probably by decision. I don't see. I mean, I would like to see that fight get finished. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets finished though.
The next fight is going to be Sean Strickland and Krzysztof Jotko. I think that's a really fun fight as well. I get Sean Strickland by knockout. I don't think it happens early. I think Yotko's a smart fighter. I believe he's learned a lot from his losses. But I think that Sean Strickland is very good, and I think he's the guy to bet on right now. And I think that Yotko has been knocked out before. So that's what I'm saying. I think he's learned from that. But I don't think that he's quite ready to beat someone like Sean Strickland.
Strickland's on a little win streak right now as well. I mean, 3 fights right now. He's doing pretty well. Just beat Brendan Allen.
Oh, yeah. His fight against Brendan Allen was good.
Yeah.
What was the other fight? Cody Stamann?
Cody Stamann versus Merab Dvalishvili. I just pronounced it correct right before we started this, too.
That's going to be a good fight as well. Cody Stamann's always fun to watch. Yeah, I made sure to say his name to make you have to say the other guy's name.
I knew you did that on purpose. You looked at me and smiled really big before you did that. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good fight. I'm gonna go Cody Stamann on that one. I mean, Cody Stamann's always looking for. He doesn't mind going all 3 if he has to, but he has the wrestling to match Merab's wrestling, and he has very good stand up. He's shown his stand up.
Yeah, he likes to use his wrestling. I say it often. He has that wrestling.
Yeah, and so he likes to keep the fight standing. He likes to throw down, and he was doing very well. COVID hit. I know it hit his family pretty hard. His brother did pass away last year, so since that, it's just kind of lit a fire under him to keep fighting hard. It was just. I remember that first when he got in 2020 after his brother passed was a very, very emotional one for him. But, I mean, I like Cody Stamann. He comes in, he wants to fight. He's a former pro boxer as well. And so he's been training boxing since he was 16. And then he's also been he was also a high school wrestler as well. So he's definitely there to have a good time, And I'm definitely excited to see what's going to be next for him. Because Brian Kelleher was that first one after his brother had passed away.
He beat Brian Kelleher. That's a big deal. Brian Kelleher is on a big tear, too.
Yeah. And so I know that Cody Stamann's coming off that loss against Jimmy Rivera. But Jimmy Rivera is just, I mean, it's funny because both those guys, Jimmy Rivera's a little stocky, but they both kind of fight the same.
Yeah. They like to keep it standing, but they have the wrestling to take it to the ground if they need to. But they like to use their wrestling to stay standing. So they can fight dirty when they need to.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Cody Stamann by decision with that one. And so for which will be the first fight on the women's flyweight card on the main card. First fight was the women's flyweight, the Poliana Baltalo. Oh. You waited for me to say this again, didn't you?
No, I actually forgot that there was another fight on
just
the card.
One more. Just one
Poliana Batalo.
Thank you.
Bateo, probably. I don't know. And then Luana Carolina.
Yeah.
I think this whole card is is going to be one of those kind of sleeper cards where they're set up to be really good fights.
Yeah.
They're set up for guys who or fighters who are around the rank 10 spot,
Yeah.
or guys who are fighters, I should say, who are in the top 5, but they got to stay active, so they got to fight someone to prove that they still deserve to be there.
Yeah.
So this card's more of like who wants to keep moving forward with their career. Right. I think there's a lot of that going on this card. So I think it'll end up being exciting because a lot of these people have to fight and they have to win.
Yeah.
Dominick Reyes being one of those people, he has to win.
Yeah. It's gonna be on, if he loses, he's gonna be on a 3-5 losing streak.
Yeah. Kuchalaba has to win.
Yeah.
Ronda Marcos has to win. So I think a lot of these fights are going to be a lot better. It's not advertised as much, but again, maybe that's just because of the hype from the UFC 261, all the craziness that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it should be a good card.
Yeah, I mean these are tough matchups for everybody. It's even sitting here talking with you about it. I really don't know who to pick because a lot of these guys fight very similar against each other, and they pair very well. But I mean, some of these people have to win. They have to go out there. They have to prove why they need to be in the UFC as well. But they also have to sit there and they have to boost their stock. You know, They can't just wait around and just fight a boring fight. They have to really go out there and prove that they're here to be a force in their division. And so we're just gonna have to I'm hoping that it delivers just as much as I hope it will. I know it will. You know.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of these fighters like to be exciting. So you gotta hope that it'll be just as good. But I think that's going to be the end of this one. Definitely rambled a lot tonight. Had a lot of random talks. So we appreciate everybody sticking along with us. Again, though, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out. And again, comment who you think has the best hands in MMA for pure boxing.
Yeah.
We'd like to know. And
be sure to follow our Instagram as well, Devin the Bear. We actually do give updates on there whenever we do post on our YouTube channel.
And we'll be doing a bit more as far as talking results from some of these fights on our Instagram page. Also, check out the G Galaviz Graph X Instagram page. It's our buddy Gilbert. He did our logo. And then check out Hope Era TX Instagram page. That'll be our buddy Antonio Lemus, who did our intro music. So if you liked that stuff, go ahead and check them out. Thank you very much, you guys. Y'all have a good time.